Dear friends, today's Gospel is a section of the Sermon on the Mount. Here Jesus addresses the three traditional pillars of religious practice: almsgiving, prayer, and fasting. He does not question whether his disciples will perform these acts. He assumes they will. However, the entire focus of Jesus is on the why, the internal motivation that drives one's outward devotion. In fact, Jesus uses a stark commercial term when describing those who parade their righteousness. They have received their reward. The Greek word used here is mistos, a technical term meaning a receipt marked paid in full. When religious actions are performed to attract human admiration, that public praise is the final payment. The transaction is complete and no spiritual substance remains. To parade one's faith is to turn a relationship with God into a theatrical performance. Jesus warns against acting like the hypocrites, the Greek word for stage actors who wore masks to play a part. To counter the temptation of seeking human praise, Jesus gives three concrete commands. The first, quiet charity. Your left hand must not know what your right is doing. True charity should be so deeply integrated into our character that it happens naturally without any self-congratulation or desire for recognition. Second, the inner room. Go to your private room. The Greek word thameino refers to a private inner chamber or storehouse. Prayer is meant to be an entry into the quiet hidden spaces of the soul, far away from the eyes of the public. Third, joyful fasting. Put on oil your head and wash your face. Rather than looking gloomy to show others that they were fasting, disciples are told to look groomed and normal. The sacrifice is to remain a private offering between the individual and God. The core question raised by this text concerns the spiritual orientation of our actions. Are we living in the sight of God or in the sight of the world? The Catechism of the Catholic Church highlights this exact distinction when discussing the moral life, stating that Jesus' disciples are fundamentally invited to live in the sight of the Father who sees in secret. This orientation is not merely about privacy, but about a deep interior truthfulness when our religious actions are performed primarily for external validation. We suffer from what St. Augustine describes as a profound internal dislocation. Reflecting on the tragedy of seeking ourselves in the external world rather than in God, St. Augustine famously wrote in his Confessions, "You were within me, and I was in the external world and sought you there." When we perform acts of piety solely to be noticed by society, we are searching for our identity and worth in the external world. Righteousness, on the other hand, requires that our actions flow from an interior communion with God. Even our everyday actions, performed with the awareness of God, ensures that our spiritual life remains anchored in truth, protected from the influences of pride and self-glory. In the hidden spaces of prayer, charity, and self-denial, ourselves are quietly transformed by God. By cultivating an authentic life of devotion, let us seek the grace of God to move past the desire for human praise and enter into the deep, lasting peace of the offer of God.